welcome to my first YouTube video. This is very exciting. My name is Stephanie Bayliss, and as you can tell from the title of this video, I am having weight loss surgery. I decided that I wanted to make these videos because I live in Australia. I live on the east coast of Australia in a small coastal town. And I found when I started researching weight loss surgery, there wasn't a lot of information and videos on YouTube from Australians. And while the American videos were really helpful, a lot of the things that they were talking about weren't transferable to the experience that we have here in Australia. So that is partly why I wanted to start these videos and start this channel, because I wanted to be able to help other Australians who are going through the same thing. That's basically why I decided that I wanted to film these videos. What I want to talk about in this first video is a bit about what I'm going to be filming on this channel, what I'm going to be documenting through this process, also why I'm going to be having weight loss surgery, what my history is, what's made me come to this decision, and also where I'm up to in the process now. So I have just had my first appointment with the surgeon. So I wanted to talk a bit about how I chose my surgeon and what that experience has been like so far and where we're up to. So let's get straight in. So some of the videos that I plan on filming for this channel will be things like the different phases. So if you're just beginning to research weight loss surgery, if you've had weight loss surgery, or you're in the process of getting weight loss surgery, you probably know that there are several phases for the diet for weight loss surgery. So you have your pre-op diet, you then have several phases after the surgery of what diets you have to do. So you have a liquid phase, a puree phase, a soft food phase, and then you gradually work into your regular foods. So I wanted to document those processes, those phases, so that you can understand what I'm eating, how to get some variety, what I'm doing through those phases. I'm obviously going to document the operation process as well for you. So what I have to do for surgery, how it goes, what my recovery process is, things like that. And I also want to cover probably a video on the negative comments that I've had about getting surgery and how to deal with those comments. There'll also be some videos on things that I thought were really necessary for those phases. So I already have a pretty good idea of things that I'm going to need in those post-op phases. So I'm going to cover that in a couple of videos as well. But for this video in particular, I wanted to start chatting about why I'm having weight loss surgery. Okay, so why am I having weight loss surgery? So my current statistics are I am 30 years old. I'm married, I don't have children, and I'll get into that a bit later. My weight is currently 110 kilos and I'm 165 centimeters tall. So I have been overweight my whole life. So I was big as a kid, I was big through high school, I was big, I've always been overweight, I've never been slim. So it's something that I've battled with my whole life. I've always been on a diet. I've always been, doing some sort of exercise program, whether it's the gym, whether it's home workouts, whether it's CrossFit, whatever. I've always been doing something. So it's something that I've constantly been battling with my whole life. When I was 14, I was diagnosed with PCOS syndrome, polycystic ovarian syndrome, which has a lot to do with your hormones and how you lose weight, and prohibiting that. But also the only cure, there's no cure, but the only cure for PCOS is weight loss. So it goes hand in hand. Around that same time, I was also diagnosed with Well, I was also told that I was pre-diabetic. You have 3 stages. You've got non-diabetic, pre-diabetic, and diabetic. So when I was 14, they told me that I was in the pre-diabetic range. So I've constantly been fighting not to go into that diabetic range. So my husband and I, we were married in 2017, and we started trying for a baby shortly before that. So it's now June 2020. So we actually started trying for a baby in May 2017. So we've been trying for 3 years now to be able to have a baby. And I don't wish that struggle and that process on my worst enemy. It's been really difficult for both of us. Partly way through that process, I went to my doctor. I said, look, we've been trying for a little while. It's not happening. She ran a bunch of tests, retested my diabetes levels, and she told me that I was now a diabetic. So that really rocked me, because for me, you know, I eat really well, I exercise all the time. To then be told that I have diabetes, that was really, really difficult. So when I was told that I had diabetes, they basically said that you need to stop trying to have a baby and get your diabetes under control before you can start trying to get pregnant again. So that took a little while. I tried different medications that didn't work. Eventually we got onto one that did work, and we got the diabetes under control with medication. So then we started the process of trying to conceive again. We were seeing a fertility doctor, trying different drugs. Basically, because of the PCOS, I'm not ovulating. So we tried various different things to try and get me to ovulate, and unfortunately they didn't work. So what happened then was the doctor told me that the next step for us would be IVF. Now, I'm not sure what this is like in other countries, but here in Australia, to do IVF, you have to have a BMI of under 35. And my current BMI is 40. So that really rocked me. And I thought, is this the end of the road for us? I basically worked out that I would need to lose another 17 kilos to be in that BMI range. And for me, that is a huge amount of weight, because it is so difficult for me to lose weight. I can have a perfect month, exercise every single day, eat like a rabbit, and a good month for me would be to lose 400 grams in a month. So to have to lose 17 kilos just to be able to go to IVF was, as you can imagine, pretty devastating. So that basically is what triggered looking into having weight loss surgery done. So I just started researching it, watched lots of YouTube videos. I watched heaps of videos about the surgery on different websites. I read lots of clinical trials, things like that. And basically, because of my diabetes and because of this issue with the fertility, it became more and more a good option for us, or for me. So that's basically what brought me to having this decision to have weight loss surgery. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about in this video, and I don't want to make these videos too long, I want them to be quite short, around the 15-minute mark. So if there's anything that I don't quite cover or that you've got questions about, please feel free to contact me. I'm an open book. So yeah, so basically that's where I got up to. In my research process, I then started looking at my surgeon. So I wanted to talk a bit about in this video about how I ended up choosing the surgeon that I'm having my weight loss surgery through. I began Googling, obviously, bariatric surgery clinics around me, and a bit further away from me. So where I live, there are a couple of bariatric surgeons, but I've actually chosen a surgeon that is outside of my hometown. So it's about 2 hours, an hour and a half to 2 hours away from where I live. Now, the reason that I have decided to do that, even though it's not closer, is because when I started researching surgeons, I stumbled across this surgery's website, and I found that they had heaps of information. So they had an abundance of information about the surgeries. They had videos of the surgeon that I'm going with, him performing the surgery, videos from his previous patients, and there was just a lot of information on there, which I found really, really helpful. So I reached out and I contacted them and said, look, I'm considering having bariatric surgery. Can you send me some more information? What would I need to do? And I also did the same with the surgeons that were in my hometown. They didn't have as much information on their websites as this other one did. They were quite limited. They had a bit of information about the surgeon and about what surgeries that they do. Yeah, it wasn't as well laid out, and it wasn't as much information as I got from this other surgeon. When I got contacted back by these two surgeries, the surgery that I've ultimately decided to go with, the one that had all the information on their website, they wrote back. They sent me heaps more information. I had told them a bit about my history, i.e. having diabetes and PCOS. They sent me a whole bunch of information. They sent me fee schedules. They sent me links to other websites for other information regarding the diabetes and the surgery. So yeah, I found that really, really helpful. They sent me about different ways on how to pay for surgery. And I'll get into that a little bit later. But I found that really, really helpful. The response that I got from the other surgeries that I contacted was basically, get your doctor's referral and then we'll talk. So, and I didn't respond to that, basically. So I had already virtually made up my mind that I was going to go with this surgery, even though it was a little while out of where we live. I would rather travel a little bit and, have my husband stay in a hotel for a couple of nights while I'm having the surgery, then go with a surgeon that I wasn't wholly comfortable with just because he was closer. So that's a big tip that I would have for you. Don't just look at the surgeries that are closest to you. Do your research for surgeons abroad as well. Even if you have to travel a little bit, it's a massive surgery. It's a massive decision. You need to be completely comfortable with your surgeon and what you're doing, and the care that you're going to get from the surgeon and their team is what you need. So basically, the first step that you have to do in Australia is you do have to get a referral from your GP. So I then had a meeting with my GP. I told her that I was thinking about having this surgery. She agreed with me. And I said, oh, look, she asked which surgeon that I was thinking about going through. And I said, oh, look, I'm looking at these ones, but I'm leaning more towards this one. And she agreed with my decision. And one thing that she did say, and this is another good reason why it's good to research them and to talk to other people, is that she said, while the surgeon in my hometown is fantastic, he's more at the end of his career. So the aftercare after I have surgery, while he's a great surgeon, you're in contact with your surgeon for hopefully the rest of your life. They do recommend that you have 12 monthly appointments. You have quite a lot of appointments in the meetings with him in the first 12 months after your surgery. But then they recommend having a meeting with them every 12 months afterwards to keep on top of it, because it is a lifelong commitment. So he, unfortunately, the one in my hometown is more at the end of his career. So the prospect of having that surgery around long term is not there. So the aftercare is not necessarily going to be there the same way that this other surgery is. So she wholly recommended the surgeon that I'm going through, and she had referred quite a few patients to this surgeon, and she's had great results. So that gave me a little bit more confidence. So I do recommend that you talk to other people as well. There are some really great support groups out there as well. So I joined the Bariatric Support Australia group, or Bariatric Surgery Australia group, on Facebook, and they've got like 35,000 members in this group. So it's a massive group, and it's a really great community. If you're in a major city, there's likely to be someone in that group that has been through the surgeon that you have been through, so you can get feedback, you can understand what the process is. So that's really helpful. So I do recommend that you do your research when you're considering having weight loss surgery to pick who you're going to go through. As I said, this is major surgery. and it's a lifelong commitment. So you want to know that who you're going with, that you're totally comfortable with them, and what the aftercare program is going to be. That now brings me to where I'm up to now. So I have now had my first appointment with the bariatric surgeon and also with the bariatric counsellor. The surgery that I'm going through, the first appointment that I had, because I had to travel, I got it done in the one day, but I had an hour with the bariatric counsellor and also with the surgeon himself. So the first appointment that I had with the bariatric counsellor, she basically talked about the diet phases. She went through the commitment. She went through the different products that you have for your pre and post-op eating phases. And she gave me a massive pack, heaps of information in it. The information that she gave me a 43-page document, which basically outlines the different phases, what you eat, what you are going through, what your post-op process is, what your recovery process is, what's going to happen in the hospital. So that was really, really helpful. For me, the more information that I have, the better I feel, the more confident I feel in my decision, and the less anxious I feel about it. So that was really helpful. Part of what she had in the pack was different protein samples. So she had quite a few protein samples in there, protein waters, the different vitamins that you have to take after surgery. The surgery that I have decided to have is the gastric bypass mini, or the mini gastric bypass. So there are 3 main types of surgery that they perform now, and that is the sleeve gastroscopy, the mini bypass, and the Roux-en-Y bypass. When I first started researching the surgeries, I was leaning more towards the sleeve, mainly because I knew people that had the sleeve, and it was probably the most common surgery that you hear about. If you want me to do a video on my understanding of those surgeries, I can definitely do that. But basically, I decided to go with the mini bypass because it has the best results for diabetes, and it has a greater success rate in terms of regain. So the sleeve, you can end up with, you lose a lot of weight initially, but eventually you can stretch out your stomach, and you can end up having regain. So the difference with the gastric bypass is that you are bypassing a section of the intestine. So while you have that portion control in your surgery, and that's obviously the main component that helps you lose weight, you are also bypassing part of the intestine, which means that you don't absorb as many calories from the food that you are eating. So long term, there's less risk or less likelihood of regain. Obviously, you can still regain. You do have to eat well, you do have to exercise. This is just a tool. And that is something that we discussed a lot in the surgery, in the appointment with the actual surgeon. So he went through all the different surgeries that you can have. And I asked him, which one do you recommend? And he said, for you and your, diabetes, PCOS, all that sort of thing, and my BMI, he said that you could basically go with the sleeve or the mini gastric bypass. So I eventually decided that to do the mini gastric bypass. So part of the pack that I got with the bariatric counsellor, she actually gave me this book. So it's called Your Complete Guide to Nutrition for Weight Loss, and it's by Sally Johnston, who is a practicing dietitian, and she specializes specifically with weight loss patients. Now, I had actually seen this book online, and I was going to buy it anyway, and then I was lucky enough, she actually gave it to me in that first appointment. And so far, it's a really, really good book. So if you are considering having weight loss surgery, I would highly recommend that book. It basically goes through each different surgery, what the complications can be, what actually happens in the surgery, and what the results are for your body in the surgery. It then goes through each different phase of the pre-op, the post-op, and further on phases of the diet, why you do that diet, what you can have, and then it's got heaps of recipes for each section. So if you're like me and you need a lot of variety and you don't want to just, you know, drink 3 chocolate shakes every day, it was really good. For me, because of what's happening in the world at the moment with COVID-19, and if you're watching this video a long time in the future, we are currently going through COVID-19. We are, fingers crossed, hopefully at the end of that saga, and restrictions are being lifted. So surgeries are going ahead now, but because there has been a period where the surgeries were cancelled, there are a lot of patients who are on a wait list to have their surgeries. So the wait for me is going to be a little bit longer. It's looking like it will be sometime in August. So it's currently the 13th of June. So probably about 2 months until I actually have the surgery. So in the meantime, I'm just trying to get as prepared as possible. Now, how I am paying for this surgery, and I want to be as upfront as possible, the surgery is expensive. Everyone knows that. So there are a couple of different ways that you can pay for surgery. Obviously, you can just pay for it. You can self-fund it and pay for it yourself. If you have private health insurance, you can go down that route. Now, we don't have private health insurance. A lot of people decide to have this surgery, then they get public health insurance, and there's a wait period of 12 months before you can have the surgery or before you can claim that kind of surgery on your private health insurance. So we weren't prepared to wait 12 months, given the fertility side of things and that we want to have a baby as soon as possible, because obviously there's a time after the surgery that we won't be able to try for a baby or be able to have the IVF for a period of time after the surgery. They recommend 12 months, but sometimes it can be earlier. It just depends on your body and how you're healing. But to get the most out of the weight loss, they do recommend that you wait at least a year. So for us, waiting a year to have the surgery and then waiting another year to lose weight to even start trying again, that just wasn't really an option for us. So I am claiming the funds from my super. And so that's the other option. So you can do what's called a compassionate release from your super. This is in Australia, obviously. If you're watching from another country, then it's probably not the same. But so in Australia, you can do what's called a compassionate release, and you do that through the ATO. You've got to submit a certain amount of forms to be able to do that. So that's the other option, and that is the way that we are doing it. So where I am up to in the process of having this weight loss surgery. I hope this video was helpful for you. If you do want to follow along with this journey and you want to see the videos that I post regarding this process, there will be plenty of videos on how I'm dealing with negative comments, what I'm taking to the hospital, what I'm eating in each different phase. Then you can hit the subscribe button here, I think, maybe down here, and that will let you know when I upload the next video. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions at all or anything that you want to know, please feel free to contact me. I'm an open book. So thank you.